Hey everyone, it's me, Chris, from Body Nova Fitness Coaching. And I wanted to talk about the most common mistakes that people make when trying to gain muscle. Mostly because, this is that time of year. We're here, Thanksgiving is over, but of course, colder weather is here. People are more covering up. Some of us gave up on getting their summer bodies and should be preparing starting now to get there, especially if you've got a considerable amount of progress to make towards getting them. But anyway, with that being said, a lot of people, when trying to do this, bulking season, they make a lot of the same mistakes because they're basing it. Part of it is they're basing it on Arnold, Arnold and the guys who did it back in his day. And you have to remember that those weren't drug-free people. One, and two, they had different. They started from being already lean. They didn't start from being, average. Or in some people, when they do this, they're obese, overweight or obese, which kind of changes how this plays. But we're going to talk about some of the top muscle building mistakes that people make. So with the first one. And I'll say this over and over. They don't know where they're at. They're not. They fail to eat enough calories, and partially it's because they don't track. So they don't say, okay, well, I figured out my normal. My average is 2,500. All right, so let me raise it. And then raise it and raise it accordingly. Okay, so they're not tracking. So without tracking, you don't know where you're at. So one, you don't know if you're eating way too much and it's contributing to you getting fat, or you don't know if you're eating enough and that is why you're stalling. Okay, so that's very important. And then the other part is you're not. People just think you are what you eat. You are what you eat, yes, but you're more what you absorb. So a lot of the people. Like for example, if you have a high stress lifestyle, sleep is bad, whatever, you hear me say this over and over, your digestion is going to be compromised. All right. So if you're not absorbing and getting all the nutrients from your foods, okay, that's going to make it more difficult to gain muscle. All right. So keep that in mind. And then also with the tracking, a lot of the guys, and I hear this all the time where it's like, hey, yeah, well, I eat a lot. And it's just like, yeah, dude, you eat at Taco Bell, okay? You can have 6 or 7 tacos and it's 20 grams of protein. And if you need 200, and that's one of 2 meals that you have today, you're not getting there. So think of that. All right. So one of the other deals is they use the wrong rep ranges. And this is what I mean. Muscle building is best achieved between 6 and 12 reps. Okay, so what I hear people doing is they'll become power lifters, which is fine. But see, there's a relationship here. You have to also perform enough volume to get a response to make your body, to force your body to give you more muscle growth. So let's say if you do, you typically do 4 sets of 10, okay? 4 sets of 10, what's your volume on that? That's 40 reps, right? So if you change it to, let's say, 5 sets of 5, okay, 5 sets of 5, you've only performed 25 reps. So but okay, you will get stronger, which may lead to a little bit of muscle mass gain or something like that. But in the bigger picture, you're not going to be able to perform enough volume to get that response. So you have to pay attention to the rep ranges you choose. And when you look at it, and I get really mad when I look at these on Instagram because they report strength is between 1 and 5 reps. Building muscle is between 6 and 12. 15 plus is endurance. And it's not only is it not like that because you can build muscle with high reps, but it makes it seem like, okay, I performed 6 reps, I'm no longer getting strong, and There are certain rep ranges, like between 6 and 8, that could function as either strength, especially for beginners or people who have a little bit of experience training hard, or hypertrophy. Trying to build muscle. So there's programs you can use with that. Paula Quinn's 5% solution is a favorite of mine, and you can use that. You can use 6 to 8 reps in that and satisfy both needs. Get a little bit stronger, but it's like more muscle building first, strength as a second quality, and not something. So they use a lot of the wrong rep ranges. They turn into power lifters. They're using really, really low reps, and if you use really, really low reps, you're going to have to perform a lot of sets to make up for that volume, to force your body into overload, so your body says, hey dude, we need more muscle. So also think about that. The next one is you're using the same old. So that's meaning you're using the same methods with the same rep ranges and the same programs for too long, or the same workouts for too long. So your body, it adapts to everything you do. So even though you're giving it more calories, okay, you're not giving it a reason to build muscle. Remember, the body's first instinct with everything is survival. So it would rather store it as fat in case you reach a famine, so you can feed off the fat during a famine. Then it will build more muscle, because muscle causes more energy to be burned. Okay, so if you're not changing your methods properly, you're not going to give your body a reason to build muscle. And this doesn't just apply to guys. Women trying to build shape, they're trying to build glutes, they're trying to hide their or make their waist look smaller by building slightly wider shoulders or something like that. So that's something to think of. They're using the same type of training for too long until their body is adapted to it, and they fail to change it. Which is why with a lot of people, I'll alternate between ways that are just pure muscular tension lifting, heavier weights between the classic rep ranges, or ways that stretch out time under tension, like or test your muscular endurance really until it forces you to build muscle by requiring you to recruit more muscle fibers. So that's another thing. They use the same methods for too long. Okay, so next is poor sleep. Okay, if your sleep is bad, cortisol levels are high, testosterone levels is low. One of the other things that people don't think about is when your sleep is bad, your blood sugar levels is bad. So if you already got questionable or higher body fat levels, and you're trying to use high amounts of carbs and higher amounts of calories, if your sleep is bad, you're more likely to store them as fat than it would be if you just had if you just had just ate high calories. So it's something else to think about. All right. So you really need to get your sleep in order, because it compromises your ability to build muscle, and it compromises your ability to recover from a workout, which is going to compromise your ability to get stronger. And that's going to keep you from getting the gains that you want in building muscle. So that's something to really think about, all right? And of course, my favorite, the Tin Man syndrome. If you train, what the Tin Man is, most of you, I assume, has watched the Wizard of Oz. The Tin Man didn't have any heart, okay? The Tin Man had no heart. So there's a lot of you, and it kind of goes more with women, but men I see do this too, is they will, so let's say you got a weight and you're bench pressing 100 pounds or whatever, and it's the 10th rep, and you could do it 12 times, or you can get it 12, but you stop at 10, maybe because you fear re-racking it or whatever. Or with a lot of people, they just don't like feeling the burn or feeling that fatigue or pushing through that fatigue. And again, the body works on these little deals where, you have to force it to give you the muscle growth that you're seeking, okay? So if you stay within that comfort zone, and I understand this is difficult because you know the weight could fall. I mean, you know, all that stuff. But if you stay too much within that comfort zone, you know, your body has no reason to change. You know, you have no reason to build muscle. So with some of my clients, I teach them how to bail themselves out or to bail out on a lift. You know, it's like if I'm bench pressing and I'm right here and I can't do anymore and I'm stuck there, I don't just let it fall on me. I turn it in and then I resist it down slowly doing a negative and then I drop it to the floor. You know, and that's even the same with shoulder pressing. You turn them in, you bring them in close to your body safely, lower it, and then just throw it to the, you know, bring it down safely to the floor. So, but either way, you can't be the Tin Man. You gotta have some heart, and you gotta push yourself through those sticking points, especially when you're tired. Okay, so these next one, and that was kind of more what I get into the beginning. Wrong nutritional strategies. So again, people are using Arnold as their ideal, and there's nothing wrong with that, but you have to put the right strategy with with what you're doing. So Arnold, of course, like I said, when he started bulking, was very lean. You know, he was very lean, so his body can tolerate carb intake. Maybe his sleep, you know, because he was about his bodybuilding, his sleep was in order. So he can tolerate his carbohydrates more. So you just don't go eating everything under the sun. So you might have to, as you increase your calories, you might have to have more of your calorie intake increase from proteins or fats than making it easy and just doing carbs if your body fat is out of control, you know, or you're not lean. Okay, let's not say out of control, lean. All right, so it could be, or also people always think that they can make it straight mathematical, and you can gain, you'll gain fast, you'll gain a pound a week, and you know most of it will be muscle, and most of it won't be in some cases. So they're like, okay, I'll make it 500, I'll make it 1,000, so I gain 2 pounds a week, you know, and it's too high of a surplus, you know. So if your surplus is too high, then more of it's going to be stored as fat. So instead of going 500 and 1,000 calories more, you might have to go 200 and 300 and just be real patient and wait. Okay, 200, 300. Okay, it's 2 weeks, another 200. Okay, another 200. And then, you know, take your pictures to monitor your progress and making sure that what your gains are is more muscle and less body fat. Okay, of course you might gain some body fat, but you want to be mostly muscle, because when it comes to for you to get lean again, if it's mostly fat, it's going to take longer for you to get lean, or to what you think is your summer look, right? And on top of that, you're going to be right back where you started. And that's the whole thing of this. You don't want to do all this hard work and all this pushing and gorging food down your deal there, and you end up in the same place where you started. Okay, so that's some of the deals for that. You want to make sure that you keep that in order. And there's one more thing. Okay, so one of the things is, I forgot to say, you use enzymes. What an enzyme does, it lowers the amount of energy that your body needs to break down food. So if you got issues with your stomach acid, or you just can't break down foods fast enough so you can eat enough, so you would take an enzyme, and there's enzymes for protein, fats, carbs, of course, right? I usually go for an enzyme that does everything, so I can take it at a meal, and you can break down those foods fast enough. All right. So your stomach empties and you're hungry again, so it's easier for you to keep eating food. So that enzyme is going to be really, really important, because like I said earlier, you are what you absorb. If you have problems absorbing, you know what I mean, you use that enzyme, it's easier to break down the food so they can be absorbed and you can get those nutrients that you need. So I just had to make sure I got through that, and you know, because like I said, this is the bulking season, so if you guys have any questions, you know, feel free to drop me a message.